What's up guys, this is me Sin. So even though I have Siege with Eyes of Blue in my hand, as you can see, this is not going to be a Blue Eyes video, right? I still have more Blue Eyes content coming up very soon, by the way, don't worry about it. But this is rather going to be a Buster Blader video because it's the one other deck that really benefits off of the new Blue Eyes support, and it's that one deck that always played Siege with Eyes of Blue with Mausoleum of White because this card can search your Buster Whelp, which is pretty much a one-card combo for Buster Blader. So the fact that we have more consistent ways of getting access to it, and the fact that this can get you a field spell that gets you an extra normal summon for that Buster Whelp really allows this deck to finally do something really productive. So today I will be showing you guys a bunch of combos on how to play Buster Blader with the new support and also make it as clean as possible because it's sad to say, but historically speaking, the Buster Blader deck wasn't really played as a pure deck, but rather as a splashable engine because the trap card was broken. But, you know, the Buster Blader cards themselves, they couldn't really form a cohesive strategy because we just didn't have enough of them, so it was really hard to just fit everything in a 40-card deck, or rather try to even build a 40-card deck in the first place. Now it all makes sense, and it definitely is possible. But before we go any further, I would really appreciate if you could smash the like and subscribe button. If this video can get to 1,000 likes, I promise you a spreadsheet where I will be covering pretty much every single combo the deck can do and also beat hand traps and everything. I already owe you one for Blue Eyes, and it's coming up, don't worry, I'm still working on it. And with that being said, let's get into combo number 1. And so my hand's pretty good, I have Siege with Eyes of Blue and nothing else, and I can beat Dark Ruler, right? And I can make a pretty nasty board. So normal summon the Siege with Eyes of Blue, which can search your deck for any level 1 Light Tuner. It doesn't have to be a Blue Eyes card or a monster with Eyes of Blue, it can be Buster Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman with Eyes of Blue. And you're going to be turning it into the new Link 1, the Spirit with Eyes of Blue, which searches your Mausoleum of White, which ironically is probably better in this deck than it is in the actual Blue Eyes deck, even though it's really good in the Blue Eyes deck because you can also Foolish your Blue Eyes. In this deck, we're not really playing Blue Eyes, even though we could, in order to make some level 9 synchros. It's better off if you just minimize the amount of bad cards in your deck and just only play the really good cards. But yeah, you can extra normal summon for your Buster Whelp, which gets you your prologue, and this card is correct. So in case you didn't know already, this is a normal trap card that reads, send 1 Destruction Sword card and 1 Buster Blader monster from your deck to the graveyard except itself as a cost, right? Special summon 1 Buster Dragon from your extra deck or graveyard, but destroying during the end phase of the next turn. And also in the graveyard, you can banish it, and this turn your Destruction Sword cards you control cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, and you can only activate 1 copy of this card once per turn. Everything about this card is insane, the on-field effect, the engrave effect, everything, and we're going to be using all of its effects. Pretty much every single card in the Buster Blader strategy fulfills a purpose. Well, I mean, the cards that we do play, at least. Anyways, link off into this card right here, which is also very good, Protector Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman. If this card is link summon, you can send 1 Destruction Sword card from your deck to the grave. Then you can special summon 1 Buster Blader from your hand. You don't necessarily have to summon a Buster Blader monster from the hand for this card to be a legal activation. And it's also a generic monster, only requires 2 monsters. And at the end of your battle phase, if your opponent controls no monsters, you can target 1 Buster Blader monster you control that did not declare an attack, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. So this can actually serve as a way to beat your opponent even when you can't run over your opponent's monsters. You can just go like standby phase, main phase, battle phase, end the battle phase, burn for a lot of damage, and you keep just doing this every single turn. Even if your opponent has like 10 monsters that have like 10 billion attack and are unaffected by card effects, you can still win over time, which is kind of cute. So yeah, again, every effect of all these cards sort of fills a purpose. Yeah, this card is going to be sending the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. I think you already know what this card does, because when it's equipped to one of your monsters, any monster, doesn't have to be a Buster Blader, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. This card was, I believe, banned, and then they unbanned it, but they banned Union Carrier instead. I think that's what ended up happening. Anyways, on the opponent's turn, my opponent can draw Duster and Dark Ruler, and it's not going to be enough. I'm going to wait until my opponent puts at least 1 card on the field, just so I can mitigate the impact of Infinite Impermanence, because we don't really want to lose to that. I can let my opponent get a first search or a first action, that's completely fine. But as soon as I kind of feel the pressure of my opponent, I can go prologue, send again the Memories and the Buster Blader as a cost to summon the Buster Dragon. And we're not done yet, because right away we're going to be using Memories, banish any dragon from the grave with the Buster Blader that is treated as a Buster Blader in the field or grave anyways. And we're going to be fusion summoning for Buster Blader the Dragon Destruction Swordsman. By the way, I just want to mention again that on the next end phase, this card right here, the Buster Dragon, will die, but this card will stay permanently, which is kind of neat. So in case you don't know what this lock achieves, Buster Dragon turns every monster the opponent controls into dragon, and with the Buster Blader fusion, the dragon monsters in your opponent's possession cannot activate their effects. By the way, it reads in your opponent's possession, so even the bestial monsters, they can't activate their effects because they're still dragons in your opponent's hand. It doesn't have to be just on the field. It can be hand, graveyard, banished, field, everything. Also, this card gains 1000 attack and defense for each dragon monster your opponent controls or is in their grave. It's actually insane how this card gets even better if your opponent plays real dragon cards in their deck. And also, this card can deal piercing damage when it attacks, but it can't attack directly. That's the only drawback, which is fine. Yeah, the Buster Dragon also has another effect where we can, during the opponent's turn, equip one of our Buster Blader monsters with one Destruction Sword card from the graveyard, and that is going to be the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. So even if we get hit by, well, first of all, by the Dark Ruler, it's not going to be enough. And also, the Duster also doesn't do anything because of the Graveyard of Prologue, which can protect our just Destruction Sword cards. So that's where it really comes in handy. Again, like I said, every effect of your cards do something. And the Dark Ruler is not going to be enough because of the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, pretty much locking our opponent from being able to summon from the extra deck. So yeah, Dark Ruler does nothing, Duster does nothing, Lightning Storm does nothing, Imperm does nothing if your opponent top decks it for turn because we can just hold the Prologue. This deck, honestly, doesn't really lose too much, and all of that with one single copy of Sage with Eyes of Blue. Look at what you can do when you have even more cards in your hand. So this combo is going to be very interesting because I just beat Duster and Dark Ruler, but now let's try to beat Super Poly as well, which is a little difficult to do, but it is definitely possible to do. So we got Sage with Eyes of Blue as well as Prologue and Buster Blader. A lot of cards in the combo are interchangeable. Like the Prologue, it can be something else, for example. Yeah, normal summon the Sage, and that is going to be searching the Buster Whelp, and then link off into Spirit, which searches your Mausoleum of White, and then activate that. Extra normal summon for your Buster Whelp, and then that gets you a search for any Destruction Sword card. By the way, the Buster Blader is also a Destruction Sword card, so even if you don't have it, you can search it, and it makes it so that the Link 2, instead of just Foolishing and doing nothing else, it Foolishes, and it also summons the Buster Blader from the hand, which is very important, because this card is quite good to be on the, quite good to have on the field. Anyways, you will be Foolishing your Prologue with the Protector Whelp, and then summon the Buster Blader from the hand, and then equip your Buster Blader with the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword from your grave, from your hand rather. So our opponent simply cannot Super Poly us, he can't summon at all from the extra deck, and we also have Prologue, and Duster does not beat us because we Foolished the Prologue with the Protector Whelp. So I'm not scared of Duster, I'm not scared of Super Poly, I'm not scared of Droplet, I'm not scared of quite literally anything. I might be scared a little bit, just a little bit of Evenly Matched, but I still keep the Prologue. So even if you have the only card that can beat me, it is still not gonna be enough. Buster Blader, best deck, boys. Alright, last but not least, I've showcased a lot of combos where, you know, when you have the trap card, everything is nice and all, but what happens if you can't get access to the trap? Well, the answer is, don't worry, you can still beat your opponent. So my hand has a Buster Whelp, Lubellion, and the two bricks, actually. So the Buster Blader and the Memories. These are the worst cards that you can draw. But in the actual Buster Blader deck, and not just as a splashable engine and everything else, these cards, instead of being terrible bricks, they actually don't suck. They're not bad. And I also have whatever else in my hand, but I have to beat an Ash, which is 100% doable. So first of all, we want to respect Drill and Logbird. So instead of using Lubellion first, which you can actually argue it can be an Ash bait, it can also make you lose way harder to drill. So instead of that, I want to prioritize my Prologue search before getting drilled. So I'll normal summon the Buster Whelp first. I'm gonna get ashed, that's completely fine, because the Prologue cannot get ashed. Again, even though you send cards from the deck to the grave, it's as a cost. Ash can only negate the effect of a card that is trying to send by an effect, which again, is not the case for Prologue. Prologue only loses to Ghost Bell because it can also summon back from the grave. Anyways, you're going to be using the Lubellion, search the Magnamut, and then link off for the Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Search the Mausoleum of White. Even though there is nothing to extra normal summon, it's completely fine, because now we can summon the Magnamut, revive back the Lubellion, place the Regained, and then link off into the Protector Whelp. Foolish for the Buster Whelp, and also special summon the Buster Blader from the hand. And then use the Graveyard effect of Buster Whelp, because yes, it's not just a Stratos. In the Graveyard, you can revive it back from the grave when you control a Buster Blader by discarding a Destruction Sword card very specifically. And if we got Memories, that also has a Graveyard effect, which is very neat. So now we're going to be Synchro Summoning into Buster Dragon, and then use the Graveyard effect of Memories in order to summon the Buster Blader Fusion. Now, this is actually better than the Prologue combo, because in the Prologue combo, your Buster Dragon that is summoned off a Prologue, it dies during the next end phase. But now we actually Synchro Summon the Buster Dragon the hard way, so it gets to stay on the field. And we also banished our monsters with the Memories, so we also get a draw off of the Regained. And on the end phase, Magnamut searches, so I'm already back to having 4 cards in my hand, and I Buster locked my opponent without relying on the traps. So it's not just like you only have the trap card to play. Buster Blader is deeper than that. Alrighty, for the deck profile, again, you know me, I like to keep things as clean and minimalistic as possible. I'm not trying to play a lot of bad cards and a lot of garnets and everything in my deck. So for the 1-card starters, I think it's pretty obvious. 3 Sage, 3 Buster Whelp, 3 P Re-Race Map, 3 Prologue, and I guess 3 Prosperity. So that would pretty much be like a 91.93% chance of drawing a 1-card combo. But there are still some other combination of hands that you can draw that allow you to still full combo pretty much without relying on any of these 5 cards. But they're a little trickier. So again, I will be covering them in the spreadsheet video. If you could smash the like and subscribe button. Anyways, for the hand trap / non-engine, we're also playing 15. I guess Lubellion is only really a hand trap when you go first. Going second, it's more of like an extender or an engine card. But yeah, 3 Lubellion, 3 Bestios, 3 different ones in order to have just more diversity in what you really have to beat your opponent. And then 3 Ash, because this card is just good against the trap decks and also playable against the combo decks. Some of their hand traps, they're really hit or miss. Like Valor and Imperm against Blue Eyes just doesn't do anything, whereas Ash, it's pretty good. You use them on prayers and it hurts. So this deck will come out at the exact same time as Blue Eyes because obviously we do rely on the same support, which is the Mausoleum of White. Well, I mean, not really the Mausoleum, but rather the Link 1 monster. It's actually crazy how we got no new main deck cards, and the deck is still drastically better because of 1 card in the extra deck. That's it. That's all we needed. But yeah, we also play 3 Super Poly and 3 Droplets, so yeah, these cards are just, like, insane against Blue Eyes. Oh my god, they're so good, especially Super Poly. Next format is 100% going to be a Super Poly format, by the way. I'm going to make a full video on that one because it really is worth covering, and there's a lot of, like, really interesting targets for Super Poly as well that are coming up very soon. I'm actually playing 2 of them. But there's another one that is also very interesting, and even the Buster Blader Fusion is a Super Poly target for the mirror match, or if you are scared of Buster Blader in case it ever becomes good, you can fuse pretty much like, I mean, not really their Buster Blader Fusion, because it does require Buster Blader, and this card is not Buster Blader, but yeah, you can summon this card right here, which is a little disgusting. Anyways, the Regain, the Call by the Grave, and then the 2 Dragon, the Destruction Swords card. So Dragon Buster, Destruction Sword, obviously that's the Domain Lock, the field spell. And then the Wizard Buster, Destruction Sword is also very interesting. It has 2 interesting effects. First of all, you can equip it to your Buster Blader monster you control from the hand. Obviously, the same thing as the other one. And also, so while it's equipped to a monster, the monsters in your opponent's graveyard cannot activate their effects. So that's pretty much Abyss Dweller, but only for monsters. And finally, you can send this equipped card to the grave and then target 1 Destruction Sword monster in your grave and then recycle it back to your hand, which can recycle back your Buster Whelp, your Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, your Buster Blader. It's pretty nice overall. And then obviously, like I said, 2 Buster Blader, 2 Memories, because these cards are Garnets, so if you draw them, then your Prologue does nothing, but you can still use them for other means, like I showcased on combo number 3. And then the Destruction Sword Flash, so if you control the fusion monster that lists Buster Blader as material, there's only 1 at the moment, you banish every monster opponent controls. It also has a nice graveyard effect where you can banish it in order to negate like an activated effect or something, like negate the effect of something that would try to target one of your Buster Blader monsters, which honestly isn't really that relevant because your opponent can still imperm your Buster Dragon and you can't really protect yourself from that. But yeah, anyways, 40 cards, and then the extra deck, 2 Buster Blader Fusions, 2 Buster Dragons. Again, you can hard summon these cards. And not really the Buster Blader Fusion, you really rely on Memories. There is a quick play that allows you to actually fusion summon, but it's not super worth it. But yeah, 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. You can summon this using the Buster Dragon and any of your level 1 tuners. It's a decent card overall. This card, the Protostar Dragon of the Void, it is a new Super Poly target, I think, from Rage of the Abyss. It's not too bad against Blue Eyes. You need any light or dark dragon monster and any other dragon monster. So sometimes they end on double spirit, and you might be scared of that, so you can go Super Poly for the 2 spirits, and then you summon that, but it doesn't do actually anything on the field, unless you are also able to summon it using your own monsters. Dragon Knight Draco Equist, very good in the mirror match, and it also has some other applications. The Duke of Demise, it requires 2 Fiend and or Zombie monsters, so it's potentially really good against 2 Bell, if that deck still exists, but I think it's gonna get banned, because it's a little too good right now. It's on the same level as Snake Eyes, so obviously it has to go. And then obviously Garura and Mudragon, the most generic Super Poly targets out there. Typhon, double Protector Well, because again, this is still a Buster Blader deck. Iridic Seal, because you're one of Sage with Eyes of... I mean, your Sage with Eyes of Blue already makes Iridic Seal if you want to, because Sage is basically a dragon monster, thanks to Spirit, and then you summon your Buster Whelp, which is a dragon monster. So you have the choice between Iridic Seal or Protector Whelp, depending on what you prioritize. Post game 1, you have a lot of options for Iridic Seal if you want to summon a dragon from the deck, so that could be a really good option. For the idea section, more Super Poly targets like Earth Golem at Ignister, it's really good against the Cybers decks, might be very relevant against the Malice deck, which again I will be covering very soon. I love the design of like the cards and how they function and everything. It's pretty much like a combo deck, but it can also play Shifter. It's not the kind of thing you see every day. Nibiru, Veiler, whatever, more hand traps, Robot, the Dragon Buster, Destruction Sword. It's not a Dragon, Robot Buster. I think this is the worst Destruction Sword card that you can play. It prevents like spells and traps that your opponent already has on the field from activating their effects. So if your opponent activates a 10 by Dragon Field spell and then uses the effect to search, it's not going to work. But if your opponent activates a Union Hanger to search right away, it will work because the card wasn't already on the field when it activated its effect. Shen Shen, it's another decent card that you can play. It's not too bad. Nice applications for this card. Another Protect Your Well for no good reason. SP that you don't need. This deck is pretty budget for the most part. Striker Dragon Anima, you got a decent amount of level 1 monsters. Striker Dragon serves zero purpose though because you already play this, which is basically Striker Dragon, but it also gives you a zone. Not that it really matters, but I guess it could if you want to summon more Link monsters in the main monster zone. But again, Master Rule 5 just made it so that the other kinds of monsters, you can summon them in the MMZ anyway, so who cares. Some more Destruction Sword cards, which I don't really recommend. It's actually really bad because you need you need to control a Buster Blade or monster or a Destruction Sword monster to use that, so it's kind of shit. And this card is also really bad because you also basically have to have a Buster Blader on the field. And then finally, if you want to, you can turn this deck into like a hardcore trap deck and play like Trap Trick to access the prologue or like Trap Track and stuff like that. I also don't really recommend it. You should play this deck as a mid-range deck just like I'm doing. I think that's going to give you the best results. It's very consistent. It's decent going second because we have some nice non-engine, and I'm also, like I said, minimizing the amount of bricks. I have a very good grind game because of the regained that allows you to shuffle back your Bluster Blader every single time you banish it. So you never run out of gas in this deck. But yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know how you feel about Buster Blader in the comment section below. Do you think it's going to be better or worse than Blue Eyes when we get the new support? I want to hear your thoughts. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.